Namaste students. We are here for the third session of that particular poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. In the first two sessions, I have already introduced the basic ideas, the fundamental ideas that really take an essential role in the poem, especially feminism, the biography of the poet, the observation of the poet, and the theme, the substance of the poem. These are the things that we have already touched upon. Now, at this stage, without spending too much time, directly I will touch the poem. There are three stanzas. Again, apparently it appears to be a very small poem. A poem consisting of three stanzas. Stanza is actually a Greek word. It simply means stopping place. If it is related to poem or poetry, then we call it stanza. If it is related to prose, then we say that this is paragraph. But before that, what's the difference between poem and poetry? Poetry, the very process of composition, the very process of writing a poem is called poetry. Similar is the difference between a play and a drama. However, I'm reading out the first stanza. It looks like this. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Bright topaz, denizens of the world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. I think you will get 2 or 3 new words. Aunt Jennifer's tigers. I have already initiated the idea that these are not the original tigers, but this is going to be a patchwork. In my introduction, I have used a painting. Here, painting, it is also very much applicable in this context, because painting, you are painting something. Painting here actually in terms of imagination, I'm trying to share this idea, because you are painting not with colors, but with threads. From that perspective, I'm using the word painting. There are 2 words, shabdartho, bhabartho. So if you take shabdartho of the word painting, then it's going to be wrong intonation. But if you take the bhabartho, then it's going to be the right intonation. So a poem is all about it. You have to have a sense of difference between these 2 words. So tigers prance across the screen. Screen here talks about the framework. The framework in which Aunt Jennifer is doing that embroidery task. Prance. Prance actually means walking freely. So these tigers are very spontaneous and lively. They are not caged. They are not imprisoned. Ultimately, what happens? These tigers are free, liberated. They are in the lap of nature. And here she has mentioned that beneath the tree. Tree is a symbol of nature. It shows close association of nature. Bright topaz, denizens of a world of green. Denizen, here it talks about the territory of the tiger. Forest is the territory of the tiger. Bright topaz. Topaz, it's a metaphor. The poet has shown a similarity between a yellow stone and the tiger. This is yellow and the tiger also yellow. Of a world of green. Green talks about forest. Green talks about nature. They do not fear. Here they. It's a pronoun used for the tigers. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. I have already given an explanation in my introductory session that men are the most sound creatures in this world. Technically, they are very sound. Intellectually, they are very sound. But powerfully, they are really meek and weak in front of a tiger. So even though men are there, tigers are fearless. Because people have to fear. People get frightened by the presence of the tiger. But here, the poet is giving that direction. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Chivalry, it's a medieval romance and it's a valor, gorgeousness. gentlemanship. This is the meaning of the word chivalry. So the tigers, they are moving. They are moving just like the kings of the forest. They are valorized over here. They are empowered over here. So they are given the chivalry quality just like a knight. When a knight rides on a horse and it moves with pace, it looks really gorgeous. It looks splendid. There is a sonorous effect in that. So it's an imagination of the poet. The poet is also thinking in terms of that. The tiger. They do not fear the men beneath the tree that they pace in sleek. Sleek means elegance. And it looks very elegant from a distance. Chivalric certainty. These words really are jerky words in that it gives you a doggerel sound. Doggerel means heavy-footed words used in particular poem, and there is always a sound effect. So when you are talking about tiger and the power of the tiger, so these words are actually giving impetus to the powerful nature of the tiger. Check the caliber and the skill of the poet. According to the intention, according to the specificity of the poem she has selected, she has filtered the words. They do not fear. I have already given you an explanation. Now, this first stanza should have been read from the perspective of that Aunt Jennifer. I have already mentioned that this is going to be an imaginary work, a piece of imagination where she is expecting that she is going to be the tigers. She is going to be free. And she has the power inside. And she has no interpretation because men are around. Men here talks about, men quote unquote talks about the patriarchal society, the members of patriarchy. So even though there are men, Aunt Jennifer, she wants to be free. She wants to liberate herself so that she doesn't have any tension, any agitation, any misfeeling about anything. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. This is the poem. This is the first stanza. Next we will move on to the second stanza. Second stanza again begins with Aunt Jennifer. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. I have already given you the substance. I have already substantiated this entire poem, rather, not this stanza. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool. With wool, she is doing that knitting task. But she is trembling. Her fingers show that she is frightened. She is fearful. Why? Because there is a presence of man. Here it talks about her family members. So even though she is doing the task, freely she cannot do this. And ultimately it's going to be half work of art. I have already given you that explanation. That when you do a piece of art, then definitely everything should be poured out. Everything in terms of, I'm talking in terms of emotions. And when that emotion gets blocked, definitely this is not going to be the right definition of an art. But that's the simple case happens with this Aunt Jennifer. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. Needle, it's not very heavy, but when she takes it, she feels it's very heavy. It talks about the oppression, subjugation. Even though it's going to be her pastime, maybe it's going to be her hobby. She likes. It's her entertainment. She can channelize all her emotions through her hobby. But somehow, as it is not approved by the family members, maybe her husband, and therefore she is frightened. She cannot do it freely. Spontaneity is lost. And therefore, when she takes the needle, even though she likes to take it, even though she loves to have the playful nature with the needle, because the moment you become playful with your art, then that art talks about the real perfection. It's a fruitful art. But it's not happening. When she is uplifting the needle, she feels that it's very heavy. It talks about the subjugation. She is in distress. Mentally, she is tortured and submerged into depression. So this line talks about her disappointment, despondency, and despair. The massive weight of uncle's wedding's band. I have already talked about this, that this ring, this is a symbol of love. A ring is a symbol of love, exchange of two hearts. But if love becomes fractured, if it does not carry the emotion of love, then definitely it becomes a pressure. It becomes a pressure. What kind of pressure? Institutional pressure, that is marriage. So the massive weight, it's really massive, huge, profuse weight of uncle's wedding band. I can tell like this, perhaps this band is banning the life of that lady, Aunt Jennifer. Her life gets banned because of that band. I can say like this. Sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. It's so tight that somehow you cannot free it from your finger. So what does it talk about? It's very tight. So it means she is in a compartment that she cannot breathe properly. She is having an unhygienic situation where she cannot breathe. She could not breathe in fresh air. That air gets polluted because of patriarchal society. So therefore, ring doesn't become a symbol of love. Rather, ring becomes a symbol. It represents. It becomes an incarnation of oppression, subjugation, domination of patriarchy. Such a wonderful line. Massive weight of uncles. So she is addressed as aunt, so therefore uncle comes. Wedding band. Shakespeare, if you read Shakespeare, and he is very, very innovative. Shakespeare would have said wedlock. Shakespeare is such a creator who would not use common words like wedding. Shakespeare would have used wedlock. He has mentioned this phrase in his Merchant of Venice. What is wedlock? Two souls get locked through wedding. So therefore it becomes wedlock. It is his own creation. That's the power of any artist. Sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. This is the end of second stanza. Now the final stanza talks about her final expectation, the last expectation, rather her inference. This stanza begins with when. When talks about a time, therefore again it lingers. It insinuates a time where she could fulfill her expectations. She can merge the gaps. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. Still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. In the final two lines, the last two lines talk about her artwork, patchwork, the piece of art with which she wants to convey a message to the sensitive readers. When aunt is dead, when she has ended her life, is she free? No. That is what she is trying to convey in this particular line. Her terrified hands will lie still ringed. Ring will be there, still it will be there in her finger. It will survive. There is nobody to open it. So ultimately, even though she is dead at this point of time, but that ring is there. So therefore, she cannot be free after death also. Now, with this line, you can understand the intensity of pathos, the agony inside Aunt Jennifer. It is so much intolerable that she feels that even though she is dead, that oppression, that sense of oppression, that mental torture that remains with her. Blake, in one of the poems, he mentioned that iron bars do not prison make. Again, I'm repeating, iron bars do not prison make. Means a prison is not made of iron bars. It's a mental prison. So even though there is no prison inside the house, but you have formulated a mental prison inside, and where she is kept throughout her life. She is not free. So therefore she is expecting that she will be free. Therefore this is the expectation that through which she has painted some tigers who are really powerful. They're playing, they're prancing in nature. Therefore it is our expectation that after death, in this life, if it is not possible, because Indian mythology believes in regeneration, rebirth. So therefore we can contextualize this poem from our Indian tradition. Therefore, if there is any rebirth, she wants to be free like those tigers. But ultimately, God knows. Rather, who knows that whether it's going to be fruitified or not? Fruitified is another word by Shakespeare. If you check dictionary, you may get it, you may not get it. But after all, it is used. Still ringed with ordeals, she was mastered by. She was mastered by. That sentence is in passive voice. She was mastered by her husband. So therefore, this ring talks about her oppression. So this ring talks about her agony, pain, intricated life. And last two lines summarize or substantiate her final expectation. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. At this stage, she has used 3 adjectives. This is not adjective, this is adjectives. At this stage, she has used 3 adjectives. Normally, if you follow grammar, it's not a good English if you use too many adjectives in one sentence. It is an exaggeration, overshooting statement, but here she has used it. But she has used with an intention. What's the intention? She wanted to show the real freedom that the tigers are enjoying in her painting. She also wants to enjoy. It is a deep-seated desire that she wants to be free, but somehow it's not possible. She's expecting that someone will come and make her free. This is actually a theme of folk tales, that when somebody is imprisoned, a king, an emperor will come and make her free. That is the expectation of Aunt Jennifer. So therefore, in this last stanza, she has given an implication to the readers that even though the ring is a beautiful piece, rather it is a memento, but this memento is going to be painful if love is fractured. Love does not convey the meaning of love. Then the ring becomes a symbol of oppression. The same thing happens with Aunt Jennifer. And therefore, with this artwork, she wants to express her feelings, her expressions, her observations. And it is fully laid to the readers so that we can solve the problems of women who are very close to our hearts. Thank you very much. This is the end of the explanation of these 3 stanzas. I hope there will not be any problem. If you have any problem, just jot down those problems. Whenever we face any problem, please write it. In the next moment, there is a chance to forget those things, those points. If we have any chance of communication or conversation, definitely we will deal those things one by one. Thank you. I hope you have watched Panga. Do watch these things and be a sensitive student at this stage. With this expectation, I'm going to end this session. Thank you very much.